All right, what's up, Nubians? This is techn00bians, part of the Geekish Network. This is your weekly deep dive into video games steeped in blackness. I'm your host, Cherie, and with me I have Charles,
What's up, everyone? Call me Chuck.
Ryan,
What's up?
Shanae,
Hey, folks.
and Travis.
What it do?
For those of you who don't know, techn00bians is your weekly video game live stream and podcast hosted by Black technology industry professionals. We discuss the what, when, and where and how you can get into this world of technology, specifically video games. We're here to sustain, inspire, nurture successful creative technologists in their pursuit of Black excellence and commitment to technology and content development. So, let's go ahead and kick some things off right now with some tech and gaming news. Why don't we start off a little bit with the Microsoft announcement? Chuck, do you want to tell us a little bit about what Microsoft's talking about this week?
Yes. So Microsoft had their big software event about their operation system, which is a new thing, I think, that's gotten this big. Apple did it. Everybody's doing the Apple method. We're making a big announcement about everything. Usually, like Windows 10 is coming. Here, go pick it up. But now they did this big event. And they showed a lot of people of color. Like everybody that spoke was somebody they found in the dungeons of their company to speak and represent the company. That's what they did. They got everybody color. They even had Jenkins, the janitor, come out and speak of Microsoft 11. But they announced the Microsoft 11,
Mhm.
and it is beautiful. It is amazing some of the things it does. They took a lot of things that Apple doesn't do. They took everything that Apple does do, curved it, made it as flat as possible that Google would do. And then they said, hey, we're going to do some other things. We're going to let you pick how you want to do your layout on your screens if you have multiple screens. And not only are we going to allow you to do that, it's going to remember what you did. So you don't have to do it every single time you start your computer.
Oh,
Isn't that beautiful?
be still my heart.
Yeah.
Right? Like, hey, we have productivity layouts. Hey, we even have game streaming layouts. Hey, we have gaming layouts. They have all kinds of layouts. They're like, we're going to make this stupid simple for you all so y'all have to do no work. Because we know dragging things with your mouse is difficult. you know, especially with hot corners. We know it's hard for you guys.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah.
Mhm.
I'm trying to decide whether or not I'm gonna roast you, Chuck, or not. I don't know yet.
I'm just saying.
I mean,
They
if you're gonna
introduced
roast someone, why wouldn't you do it here? This
Yeah,
this
what,
seems
yeah,
like
yeah.
Well,
You know,
seems like a
look,
roast friendly venue.
they had DirectX 12 announcement. They said, hey, gamers, we got DirectX 12 coming. So your games are going to run better on our platform, especially since we're going to stream everything through the cloud anyway. So why would you get it? And guess what? We run Android games too, Android apps. So not only you get like if Apple does iOS apps, we do Android apps. That's not even our system when we run our apps.
Can we talk about that for a little bit, by the
Uh-huh.
way? Because like
Uh-huh.
well,
I saw a story that like Microsoft is like they're not going to be like basically they're coming at Apple with like the whole like 30% that Apple's taking off of for app stores and everything like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I know for like certain I think apps Microsoft's not kept taking anything from
Yeah.
developers.
If you do productivity software and developer based software, they're like, you get all 100% of that.
Hmm.
That's pretty huge. It
That
doesn't
is
apply. It
huge.
doesn't apply to games though, right?
No, it doesn't
no, it
apply to
does not.
this. It does not apply to games.
But it is. I think it still is less than like they're still undercutting Apple. Like it's not 30%. I
Yeah.
think it's like 12%.
It's like 12% or something like that. I
Yeah.
think for Windows for games for Windows or something. No, I mean it's still a huge thing. When we discussed the whole like Apple lawsuit, Apple Epic lawsuit, I think we talked a bit about that, and how that lawsuit is going to be impacting a whole bunch of things. Like no matter what happens, it's going to have like reverberating. I don't know, reverberations throughout
Yeah.
throughout the
And
industry.
not only this, they're
We're
like,
getting
hey,
reverberations, guys. Reverberations that reverberate.
Yeah.
But it's interesting to see some of the heavy hitters making moves even in advance of that
Mhm.
and starting to redefine like what those sort of financial cuts and stuff like that look like, because that's really going to open the door for a lot of different types of development
Mhm.
and how people structure their companies, what types of things, what kind of risks they go in on, and what platforms they choose. Because simply put, there's a big difference between, hey, this platform holder takes 30%, this one only takes 12.
Yeah.
That's huge.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I will admit, like if Apple had just made it like 100-0 across the board or whatever, that would just been insane. But I mean,
It would
still, the fact
bankrupt Apple.
it really would.
So
um,
so Microsoft, you know, I think their market cap now is like 2 trillion now, right?
Yeah, 2 trillion.
Okay.
Yeah,
More.
they got
Yeah.
2 trillion. The
Yeah.
second
So
company to do it in the world.
yeah.
First
So
one. First one was.
Apple.
Apple.
So your operating system, like Apple didn't invent that, right?
Mm-mm.
As a matter of fact, Apple copied a lot of their operating system from
Mm-hmm.
Xerox, right?
I
So
think the proper word is innovated.
yeah, why
Like
not?
stole or something.
Yeah. And
Innovented.
invented.
I'm about to show my age here,
Don't
more
you
than
always?
even more than normal. But I remember on Commodore 64 having something that was called GEOS, which was Graphic Environmental Operating System,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so it made your Commodore 64 look like Mac OS, at the time. So OS is not anything. It's really, they've been there since the dawn of computers. Now, that being the case, the question is, when you're a market standard like Windows, what kind of responsibilities do you have, right? Um, and I think overall your responsibilities are to support the market writ large. Um, and
Mm-hmm.
now operating systems are appearing in things that never were before, whether or not it's your phone, your car, you
Your
know,
refrigerator.
your refrigerator,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
right? Seriously,
I
right?
can connect to
So
my. I just got a new washer dryer. I can connect it to an
Yeah.
app.
boom,
Boom.
right?
Right
And, and,
there.
and so what's happening is the job of operating systems are changing. Okay. And now they're taking your consumer electronics and they're navigating them
Mm-hmm.
into your into your overall,
It's a
your
SaaS.
life, right?
Yeah.
And so if an operating system is doing something really cool, it's taking very powerful features and making them very accessible to people,
Mm-hmm.
right? um, and I think this is what Windows 11 is doing. Now your operating system spans so many different devices that the last thing you want to do is figure out why you're having IRQ problems, or this driver or that driver. People just want to say,
Yeah.
look, man, I want to see YouTube on my TV.
Yes, that's all I want to do. You're right. You're
Can I
right.
just do that?
You're
Right?
right.
Like,
Oh,
seriously, like, I don't want to deal with Sound Blaster drivers or something
Yeah.
like that,
yeah.
right?
I don't
And
want to
so
install
and so
drivers.
Oh my
that's
god.
that's what's going on. And so now with Windows 11, it finally seems like, that Microsoft has said, I see you, Apple, and
Mhm.
I raise you
Yep.
some really rounded corners and some see-through UI.
Frosted glass.
What up?
I think the thing that's
And I'm
also
here
really
for it.
interesting. Absolutely. The thing I think is also really interesting here is like, Microsoft is often seen as being an engineering company, and it very much is an engineering company. Like,
Mm-hmm.
it's oftentimes driven by engineers, but
Shanae's X from Microsoft, so she's speaking with experience here. All right,
yeah,
go ahead.
yeah, and there seem to be like cycles that we go through where every once in a while, like this really interesting creative design thing comes out of Microsoft, and it sort of like just wows everyone. I think the last one that came out was I don't remember what the actual public facing name for it was, but it was this big, beautiful, gorgeous monitors like probably 4 years ago, and it got so much acclaim. People were like, "Oh my goodness, maybe like the design talent lives within Microsoft now, like Apple, like be on guard." And then we like kind of scared ourselves with how good we got at design. We're like, let's not do that anymore. Layoffs, designers, you go away, go somewhere else. We're back to engineering.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Yeah.
And so because that is like that's what Microsoft is really good at. Like that's where
Mm-hmm.
we like made
yeah.
our bread and butter and kind of stuff. So
Yeah.
I'm excited to see this kind of design work coming out of Microsoft again, because I think the talent is there. I think the desire is there. It's just hopefully they won't scare themselves again.
But that's not the biggest announcement this week, right? Because they made some other subtle things. So they announced this OS, and they're like, "Hey, this is what we're doing," and they made a big stink about the biggest announcement. We put the button in the middle of your screen. It's no longer in the corner. It's right dab in the middle. It's right in the middle. That's the biggest announcement we made. But
Well,
they also talked about direct storage, where things stream on solid state memories faster. They can bypass certain CPU and RAM operations to get games processed faster. And everybody thinks that's really interesting. But what makes it even more interesting, Microsoft is spending all this money to buy graphics cards and silicon, not to put into the devices they already have on market. They just announced this Xbox Series X series. They're like, oh no, we're not putting chips in that. We're putting all this in the cloud storage. We're dumping billions of dollars in the cloud storage because we want you to run on everything. We're going to run Microsoft OS and games off the cloud. And we don't care what device you have in your pocket. And that goes into their second announcement of saying, hey, we run Android apps. And then we don't just run them where we're good for iOS, for Apple, for make sure the stuff runs on M1 chips that are just ARM. Now we're running across Intel chips, NVIDIA chips. If you got any type of chip, we're going to run across it. We're going to run everything across it because we're not building for the box you have in your house. We're building for the box you never see in the cloud. And we're just going to beam it straight down to your house.
Interesting.
Which is a very smart play.
I'm waiting for them to come out with a pencil that can draw for me, or Elon Musk design something, a magic eraser or something. I don't have to touch it. It just does everything.
It just does everything for you.
Do you really want that, Ryan? Do you really want that? Because I'm sure we can.
Hey, my Tesla already does something like that, so that's close enough.
Well,
it still doesn't get Facebook fast enough.
All this Microsoft stuff is super interesting, but none of it's going to apply to me because I'm talking to you all right now on a MacBook. So next topic.
And not only that, Microsoft kind of sided with Epic in the battle between Epic and Apple.
They did.
Shocking.
They allowing other third-party companies to have their own payment processors.
Yep.
They're like, Epic, we got you. We heard what you're saying. We're gonna let that happen.
I'm still really interested. I mean, we should be getting like the actual verdict in the next 2 or 3 weeks from Epic.
So Microsoft was like, we prepared for the fallout. Fallout.
So,
Apple, you're not.
But
prepared
there's no fallout for Microsoft.
No.
Okay, Microsoft in their Windows platform has operated under these auspices since the dawn of their creation. Right. So this is not something that's going to impact their bottom line. So that's why they were like play on player. And also and it's an important distinction about their Android apps that they run Android. You get them through the Amazon store, right? So any Android app that isn't on the Android store, I don't think it's not guaranteed to it.
Yeah.
All right. Cool. Well, let's move on from Windows news. I have a story I want to talk a little bit about here. Do y'all remember Movie Pass?
Yeah.
You don't remember that?
Yes.
So,
Oh no. Are they are they back again?
I mean,
Are movie theaters even back open yet?
Sort of, I guess. So I'm a big movie buff. I love watching movies. Like back pre-pandemic time, I would literally go see a movie every single week. And all the folks at my job are always talking about, why don't you get Movie Pass? You know, it's going to be like a great deal. You're wasting all this money. And for whatever reason, I still was just like, just a little hesitant to do it. Because if you don't know, Movie Pass was this deal that seemed way too good to be true. You could pay $10 a month and you could go see a movie every single day for that month, and as long as you're paying your subscription. Like when it launched back in 2011, they were, I think it was when it first launched, I should say, they were charging like up to like $50 a month, which seems a little bit more like in line with what you would expect. But when they got purchased by this data company, they dropped it down to $10 a month. And my guess is that the idea behind that was, we're just going to get a lot of subscribers. We're going to get a lot of their personal information. We're going to sell their data and we're going to make money back that way. Because of course, MoviePass still had to pay the movie theaters. They're paying the movie theaters for the full price of the tickets, even though their customers are getting extremely discounted rates. So the reason why they're back in the news is because the FTC complaint was just like, or the FTC I guess made some accusations and basically confirmed what a lot of users of MoviePass were complaining about right at the end of its life, which was around 2019, which was, MoviePass, it wasn't really a viable like model because they just couldn't make money, right?
Shocking.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about how much does it cost to go to the movies, like just for the ticket?
Like $1 billion.
$300.
Like
$1
Yeah.
billion.
Yeah,
in
you're paying.
LA.
Yeah.
2 billion. 2 billion.
Yeah, if you want to, yeah, I'm paying $20 unless I'm going to like the early bird showing on a Sunday morning, which I did a lot.
Yep.
I'd be paying.
That might be less than $10, but maybe.
Maybe. That's
But
that's here
I
on the
just-
West Coast though. In the rest of the country, it's like $6 to $8 per.
Well, the
ticket.
thing about it is, it's like, the math sometimes
Still doesn't add up.
doesn't well, it doesn't work. It doesn't work because a lot of times people's home setups are so good now, right, that you don't bother going to the movie theaters unless it's
unless
like a
it's
big production,
blockbuster.
right?
Yeah.
And so, and that's why like all these upper, like, these high class movie theaters begin to crop up, because you're like, if I'm going to leave my house, it needs to be for something special. So people do find themselves spending $20.
It's very true. It's very true.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
we're talking about like, I said this seemed too good to be true, and it turns out, of course, that it was too good to be true. Because even for the execs over at MoviePass, they were like, yeah, we can't sustain this, is not a sustainable model. So instead of trying to like revise their terms or work with people or whatever, do something that was maybe like above board, they started doing a bunch of shady stuff.
No.
Yeah, so like, first of all, what they started doing was they reset about 75,000 users passwords and claimed that it was because they detected fraud or suspicious activity. And then when people tried to reset their password, they would run into technical problems. And basically they're doing all this stuff just to slow down people so that they can't use the movie pass, so that they don't have to pay out more money. So they did that. There's like a whole, like, they had an email thread about it, so that
Oh my
so the execs
gosh.
are very aware of it.
Wait. They had an internal email thread?
Yeah.
They documented their
The
Of
crime. Of course,
Oh,
of
it's
course,
always
of
the crime.
course.
Of course, oh come on, Sinead. Like
Wow.
if you're so if you're so dastardly, if
It's
you're so
always-
dastardly that you're going to change your users' passwords, you don't think you'll be stupid enough to actually discuss it in
I
email?
just,
Yeah.
why create like the paper
The paper. They don't think about the paper trail.
paper
Because
trail?
none of that was wise. That's why,
No,
like, none of it
no.
was.
You don't just walk over to the guy in engineering and be like, hey, I need you to reset 75,000 passwords. You gotta write it
I
in the
mean, that's
email.
what they should have done. At least a phone call, right?
Yeah.
Something
I
where
mean,
it's not
they
like
could have walked across the office and done it.
Something
But
that
no,
can't be
you put it in the
subpoenaed.
email and you explain why. You give your villainous monologue on top of it.
Yep.
This
So
is
let me
why
tell you
we're
other two
doing
things
it.
that they did, by the way. So that was one thing that they did. And by the way, they're doing this for their power users, right? I mean,
Well,
they
of
have
course.
about 3 million users. Most users are going to see the movies like, 2, maybe 3 times a month.
enough
They
so
were
that
doing-
it was worth it, right?
Yeah, they were doing this for the power users who were like, I'm paying $10 a month and I can go see any movie
Every day.
Many
every
times.
single
day.
day. So they did that. They also, for about 20% actually of their most active users, they suddenly started getting notifications that they had to upload a picture of their ticket stub for approval. And so people will get randomly selected to do this. And then of course, it would be a very tedious process and it would fail on, either with the operating system side or on a movie pass side. So people couldn't use their service. And then the third really shady thing they did was they started restricting the number of users or the number of movies that some users could view, but they didn't tell anybody. So like basically, like you hit a tripwire, if you hit 3 movies in a month, suddenly your account got deactivated and you couldn't do anything for the rest of the month. And they didn't update the terms of service, they didn't alert anybody, they didn't tell anybody. It just, your account didn't work. And then suddenly the next month it started working again.
Oh my gosh.
And then just to put the icing, like the cherry on the top of the cake, they also had a data breach and leaked a bunch of credit card numbers. So
It's not even shady. It's like it's nefarious. It's malicious.
yeah,
This it's not like there's no shady implies like maybe it's a little bit like not above board. Like this was straight up just
Yeah.
criminal.
it
Dastardly.
is straight illegal. Like
You need multiple syllables to describe what was going on.
I was a movie pass super user.
were you?
Oh yeah.
Did
I
you
was
run
a
into
movie-
these problems?
I ran into the problem of where I had to upload my movie ticket.
Mm.
That's the only problem I had. And they would
Yeah.
tell me there's certain movies I couldn't see, but I went to the theater that like every other day. So the people in the theater just let me in no matter what. They knew me.
Okay.
I,
That
I was
worked.
I was beloved. They're like, oh, it's Charles. What's up, Charles? What movie you seeing today? And I'll just tell them. They're like, oh, come on in.
You
Nice.
probably
Just
could just
walk
cancel
on
your
in.
movie pass.
What's that?
You could have
That's the
canceled your movie pass and saved $10.
I probably could have canceled it.
Yeah, that's
They
a
just
different
personally knew me. It was like right next to there's two theaters almost side by side. There was a cheaper theater and there's the more expensive theater. And I would go there from Upload, and when I was working out of Upload, and I would go there like every other day during lunch, during the end of the day, do two movies a day.
Nice.
You know, they just let me in. They're like, "Oh, what's up, Charles?" You know, yeah.
I just, it's funny because I looked at Movie Pass and it
It
just
didn't
looked
smell right.
shady.
It
What's that?
looks
It didn't
shady.
smell right.
hmm
It didn't
It,
smell
it
right.
looked yeah, there was something about it that was just shady, and I was
No,
just like, nah, I'm not doing this.
no.
I'm not doing this.
The beauty of it is Costco had it, and they give you a year long pass for like $40,
Yeah,
and that's cheaper than the $10 a month.
that's even
And
Yeah,
cheaper.
it
I would
didn't
get
make
that and
sense.
just
It
stack
didn't.
it, and you can
It
stack it
didn't.
on top of that.
Yeah, I have people constantly telling me I should do it, and I'm like, because I'm
Same.
paying $8 a month or $8 a week. Because I was going, like I said, I'd be the person going to see like Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter on a Sunday morning at 7:30 a.m. That was
Yeah.
me.
I'm very sorry.
So
Sorry, I was very
Yeah,
happy to
you
see
know.
those.
yeah, so
That
that would
movie
be
was
me.
trash.
It was. I mean, it was. I was entertained, but it but it wasn't a good movie. But yeah, I mean, it seemed like too good a deal, too good to be true. Turns out
But
it was.
when I was there when Hammett ran. Hammett Watts is one of the
Mm,
founders.
mm,
He's now at Upfront Ventures. He's like one of the big partners in Upfront Ventures. But
yeah.
the brother he owned it. And that's when it was like $50 a month. And I heard him do a talk, and I said I immediately signed up for Movie Pass right there for me. He said I'll send you a promo code. You get 3 months free, and he gave me my
Yeah.
first 3 months free.
See, that's legit. $50
Yeah,
a month
Got you.
seems actually like
yeah.
a viable business model.
You know, it was a black-owned business.
Yeah.
He's hiring black engineers. He's making a diverse team. At the
Mm,
time, his lead engineer was a black woman, and I was like, you know what? I'm riding with you. I'm gonna ride with this. This sounds brilliant. He was like, I'm trying to get the company up and started, and I was with Hammett the whole entire ride. And then he
yeah.
sold it, and then I think they got rid of all the black people, and then that firm turned around and they got nefarious.
And then they got hit with an FTC violation.
Yeah, hope I get
That's,
hope
by
I
the way,
get
that's
hope, hope I get some money back from my Costco days.
No, you will
you
not.
might. The great thing about it was they actually referenced that they might get in trouble with the FTC in their email, so it wasn't like it wasn't like this just caught them off guard. They knew. But anywho,
It
let's go ahead and
clearly
move on
doesn't
to
have
the
a good
next
legal
story.
team.
I know, right? Let's move to the next story. Ryan, what have you
Hey,
got for us?
all right, let's get into this. So, I'm gonna talk about something that's deep. This deep, deep.
Very deep, very deep.
Okay.
So, yeah, I'm gonna talk about TikTok and basically the boycott that's going on right now. So the black creators on TikTok have been sharing content on racial justice that and the overlooked history that's involved in the black community.
Mhm.
There's a creator named Khalil Green. He's been using TikTok to discuss Black history and events like Juneteenth, especially cultural appropriation in pop culture.
Mhm.
So there's been these dance trends like the swag and the sheesh, who the original creators who were black, but they've been overlooked and they've been taken over by the white community. You'll see it on TikTok, and they're doing all these dances. And since the protest, they haven't been any like new dances that's been coming out or anything like that. So a lot so you'll see the white creators are creating these contents that they're not really dancing that much, they're not doing the best of the best type
Mm.
of dance, because
Mm.
this is protest that's going on. It's actively going on right now. So Khalil, the cool thing about this guy, I can't remember what college he graduated from, but Khalil's content is designed for Black people to learn more about their own history rather than try to teach or try to reach people who may not understand the importance of Black culture and the racial justice. He also posted a video on African American names
Mm.
leading up to Juneteenth. He also shared a video explaining the meaning behind the holiday's flag. Now, this is pretty, especially now, especially after the whole Chauvin's trial and everything, and the impact it's had on policing and the community and stuff like that. And now we're seeing this protest here. People are people are getting woke right now. And it's the cool thing about it is like it's being woke. The younger people are like being woke. So it's not like our generation where we were told the stuff from that our parents learned from the 60s and the 70s, and they're throwing it on us. And now it's like the kids are up to like 12, 10, 12. They're like, whoa, what's going on? A friend of mine, Sean, was explaining to me yesterday, and his son was asking him questions, and he was just like, why didn't your parents tell you this type of things and this type of stuff? So it's like the upcoming generation, they're things are shaking within the Black community, and not just the Black community, that younger generation, because it's not just Black people, it's more people of that generation as people have been shook, and things are going to change within the next 15, 20 years. I absolutely could see it. I'm predicting a future. I'm marking it down. You guys can come back and tease me later. But I think things are absolutely going to change within the next couple years, because the younger people right now, they're the ones who are going to be the future, and they're the ones who's going to be building and making these movements and changing things and doing stuff like that. I kind of feel like we did the best we could, and they're taking over. That's the way I feel.
I think it's interesting, and I think a lot of this ties to technology. Um, it ties to technology because the more techno savvy we all get, the smaller our world becomes, right? Um, and so, like, once upon a time, I mean, news didn't travel as fast, right? And so
Nope.
something happened on the East Coast. It might take a week for it to get over to the, to the other side of the nation. And now these things happen super fast, right? Um, and when injustice happens, and and it catches fire, you know, Black people, well, people, but especially Black people, know instantly. Like, the last thing you want to do is get Black Twitter mad at you. And, you don't want that smoke at all. And and I think that that's what's going on in TikTok, right? Is that now, because now Black people are technically savvy, and they see what's going on, and just like we had our struggle, when we were in our 20s, this is theirs. And I remember actually sending a message to Shanae saying, well, we protesting TikTok now. I haven't even installed it, right? Like, and she said, and she was like, slow your roll, old man. This is why, and I was like, oh man, that smells like justice. I'm all about it, right? And so, yeah, so for me, I mean, at a glance, it seemed like a small thing, but it wasn't. It was the tip of the iceberg of something, and it was reminiscent of things that have happened in the past. And what the Black creators on TikTok said, we're not having it.
Yeah.
And and for
saw
that,
that response
I
video, like
applaud you.
doing this.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
he went like this.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So it made me feel, like, just on the surface, it made me feel some kind of way. But once I really understood what was going on, it made me feel the best kind of some kind of way.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is like everything that you guys said too, right? And I also appreciate Travis. Travis, I don't think any of us are in the extremely online generation, though a few of us are probably more extremely online than others and stuff. But you guys are right. This is sort of like, this is one of the, we can look at it and be like, oh, what's going on with TikToks? I don't understand this stuff. But this is something that's actually really critical towards like these social justice movements and stuff. And the line that came to mind while we're discussing this is George C. Wolfe's quote that they have hanging in the National Museum of African American History out in Washington, D.C. says, God created Black people and Black people created style.
No doubt.
That is absolutely, like, Black folks are the backbone of so many of
Style. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Black Twitter drives Twitter, Black TikTok drives TikTok. And we are seeing that right now with that the
boycott.
protest so much as like it's they're on strike. Is what people
Right,
said.
yeah.
They're on strike. You had folks going out like I'm not going to be able to pull the names out of my head right now because forgive me, I haven't had enough caffeine today. But you had these famous dances like Renegade and all this other stuff, and this 13-year-old black girl created the Renegade dance, and she got no credit
Yep.
for it whatsoever. It
Yeah.
got replicated. There were famous white TikTokers that were invited on like Jimmy Fallon's show and stuff like that
Yep.
to do less energetic versions of it. Black
Matter of fact,
TikTokers
she
just-
got attacked for
Mhm.
claiming that she created it.
yeah, and
They
it
came
just-
for her.
and it didn't the truth didn't get revealed till the New York Times came out and said no, actually this like 13-year-old black girl did do this thing.
And none of the shows fixed it. Said, "Oh no, I'm gonna bring her on now."
Yeah,
They're
but
like, whatever, we're past.
but
that.
it's sort of like when you have like the front page headline and then the correction on page 12, right?
You remember this? You remember, like, I guess it was maybe, I don't know, maybe, I want to say it was maybe 9 or 10 years ago when those Harlem Shake videos came out,
Mhm.
Yeah, I
and
remember that.
and
Oh my
all the
God,
black people was like, y'all know that's not the Harlem Shake, right?
Right. Yes. Or the Running Man ones also.
Yeah, like that's not it, or the Running Man, same thing, right? They were like, that's not the Running Man, right? Like,
Yeah.
you're doing it wrong,
I've been
Yeah.
seeing a lot of those with various like stomp cheers and stuff like that too, and just the
Man.
less exciting recreations of them and stuff too.
Yes.
Yeah, I love this because it's Black TikTok creators like taking back the power and showing who does drive the engagement and who does drive the excitement in that space, right? Like
Mhm.
Megan Thee Stallion, like this, like she's got the new song of the summer, but it ain't got a dance to it right now, and it's been out for a week, and this is not a dance.
Yep.
Even if we were
It's
trying to
sort-
make it something.
It's sort of like that Mad Max moment, right? When Master Blaster says, "Who runs Bartertown?"
It's like I don't know. Like
Master Blaster
scroll
run
through
Bartertown.
4 years
You
FYP.
damn right.
There's no dances on here right now. What's
Yeah.
going on?
It's so true. So I'm gonna move us on to our next story here. Travis, can you tell us a little bit about what you brought for us?
Okay.
That shows your best viral dance while you're doing it.
Yeah, yes, absolutely.
So this was this one is interesting. So a lot of times we don't like tell people like what we're doing in our real life sometimes, right? So for the past 3.5 years, I was the VP of game development at Lightstorm. And Lightstorm's James Cameron's movie production company, and so I was working on every Avatar game you could possibly think of. And so I recently left. More news on that on future episodes. But I came across this article on IGN, and it said that Disney let Ubisoft Massive make a Star Wars game after a meeting about its Avatar game. It says Disney was convinced to let Ubisoft Massive make an open world Star Wars game after its first meeting with the developer, a meeting that was actually to discuss the Avatar games, Frontier of Pandora. In an interview with IGN, SVP of Walt Disney Games, Sean Shaptaw, revealed that he and his team had met with Massive after Disney's acquisition of Fox, which included the already in development Avatar video game project. That discussion clearly had a major effect. So I want to say to Disney, you're welcome. Okay. Look,
Wait, Travis. Here are your flowers.
thank you very much.
I don't know what flowers. I don't know how to.
TikTok dance waiting to be made in your honor.
Yes.
Indeed. Look, it's always when you're making games, and this is something that everyone who's interested in hearing games needs to hear. Like, it's a highly subjective business, right? You don't necessarily know what's going to like pop and what's not. You really don't. And you're on these games for years.
Yep.
Right? And the only thing that you really want sometimes is that pat on the back or that acceptance from your fellow peers, but especially from end users, especially from gamers, right? So I'm a Star Wars nut. I've always been one. I'm old enough to have actually seen Star Wars in the movie theater. I was 6. Let's start slide. Um, and to hear that a product that you were working on actually inspired people on an intellectual property that you sort of hold responsible for like you being the creative person you are. It seems like a lot of that came full circle, and
Oh yeah.
and so I'm not mad at that. I'm not, and I know that team, I know that company, um, and I don't know what kind of Star Wars game it's going to be, but if it's half of what my Avatar game is, y'all are in for a ride.
Nice.
Yes.
I'm looking forward to it.
I just hope they didn't all switch gears before the end of the Avatar game completion to say we're working on Star Wars now. Fuck this shit.
No, I like that the Avatar team is like seriously like as a producer, right? Like a lot of times you're not doing the work, you're just supervising the work,
Yeah.
right? Um, and when you have a team that's on it, right? And what I mean by that specifically is like a lot of times, like, you'll get like these new teams or a team that's never done it before or something like that, right? But the Avatar team is a team that has done it multiple times, right? Like it shipped, they shipped a division,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so I think, and we'll talk a little bit about this later, I guess, as we talk about E3. But I would say that when the trailer came out for my game, seeing people's reactions, like the Avatar game reactions, was vindication for every late night, for every long email, for every like Zoom meeting that I was like, oh my god, to every bit of approval that I had to do. It was pure vindication. It was, um, and and I can't say too much obviously because the game isn't out yet, but I will say something that made me chuckle every time I hear it, which is when people say, "Why they just show us a movie, right? Why couldn't they show us gameplay?" Jokes on you, sucker. That was gameplay. It just looked like a movie.
Mm-hmm. That's amazing.
Awesome.
That's awesome.
I can't wait. I can't wait.
Yes, super excited for when that comes out.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right, thank you so much, Travis. We're gonna move on to the last story here. Shanae, what do you have for us?
Ooh, okay, I got a story. So we're gonna talk about crunch. Travis was just talking about it a second ago, like long hours, late
Yeah.
nights, and
Yeah,
stuff.
Travis, you didn't. Was it worth the FTC violations?
maybe one or two.
One or two. Okay.
Just a couple FTC
Yeah,
violations.
that's all.
Was it worth like a 12% revenue? Anyhow, let's talk about crunch for a second, y'all. We've talked about crunch in the past a bit here, and I have very strong feelings about the crunch culture and the death march culture that exists in the game industry. But a story came out. This is a couple weeks old now, but you guys are familiar with the game Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart. It's probably the second game you own on your PS5 if you own a PS5.
It's
Maybe the
fantastic.
third. Maybe the
Mhm.
third. It's a fantastic game. It got rated like an 88, I think, for Metacritic
Mhm.
or something like that. Like it's just overwhelmingly positive reviews and stuff. And it was a game apparently reportedly made without crunch.
Boom.
So this is coming from at least two folks who were on the team. Like one game designer, his name's Grant Parker, and then an animator, Lindsay Thompson. Now, this is from a couple folks on the team. Like this may not be a universal experience, but I haven't seen anything that's gone out there that refuted their personalized experience right here, where they said, "Hey, I can't speak for anyone else on the team, but I didn't crunch once. 40 hours, 40-hour weeks the whole time. It is possible to work on a great game without suffering." And Lindsay Thompson, the animator, also she also bolstered that and said, "I didn't crunch once. Entire production, couple late nights here and there, finishing something up, but completely crunch free. It is possible. Team wellness lets the creativity flow free." And the reason why I like this story too is because, just last year there was a big story around the game, my personal game of the year, Hades, and how it was also a game that was made without crunch. The folks at Supergiant, if you haven't played Hades by the way yet, what are you doing? Why are you listening to our podcast? Go play
That's
Hades.
true, right? That's
It's
true.
such a
Hades,
it's
why
such
you-
a good game.
I'm gonna second that one.
Yeah, it's such a good game, y'all. It's available on like all the platforms. You have no excuse.
Nice.
Go play it right
None.
now. It's just, even if you hate roguelikes, it is a game that you need to add to your repertoire because it may change your mind about roguelikes. But it was a game that was also made completely without crunch. Like they said, they set up rules specifically in order to make sure they had a healthy work-life balance. Things that were, things like first off, not working on weekends, but not just not working on weekends. No email after 5 on Friday was their thing. They're like, we didn't want people even sending emails because even if someone says for themselves, oh, well, I want to work late, you send an email after 5, what do? You wind up randomizing someone else's day because suddenly it's like, how this thing is, guys, this phone thing, you're sitting there and you're like, you pick it up and you're like, oh, I'm just scrolling through. I'll just click on my email. Oh my God, I got this email from Travis. Oh, what does this say? Oh, suddenly I am now back in work mode and it's 9:30 p.m. on a Friday night and you're now randomized and your weekend is potentially randomized, right?
Yep.
That's
They
why
make
you wait till
rules.
4:59 to send that email.
Oh yeah, and then you peace out, and then suddenly it's like someone set a fire. Like I call it throwing grenades at 4:59
Oh
p.m.
man, no, and make sure it's right before a holiday because I had people who would send me an email asking me for testing services on July 3rd, testing through the weekend, and I'm like,
What is no, Alex, or whoever is running Jeopardy now? I don't know. I think it's LeVar Burton is going to do Jeopardy for a little
Yeah,
bit.
LeVar Burton.
But
Yeah.
I'm always Jordy to me.
You know,
But
I think that it's funny because whenever I look at crunch as a producer, I tend to come for myself first, right? Because I think a lot of times, crunch comes from the lack of good management and planning and pacing,
Mm-hmm.
yep,
right?
Mm-hmm.
And usually it's because you're trying to stuff something into something that doesn't really fit, and you're spending your time trying to cram that in, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you haven't planned correctly. You haven't, and your your stomach, isn't as big as your eyes, right? It's what it is, and you get into that situation, and I think that that speaks to management and insomnia.
mm-hmm.
It speaks to how professional they are, um, and knowing that you don't have to run a creative enterprise like a sweatshop,
Yeah.
yep,
Mm-hmm.
it's
right?
true. And can I just mention, like, I mean, as someone who was at EA during the whole EA spouse
And that
controversy,
was crucial. And
yeah, I mean, I slept at the studio multiple times. Is not great. Like, I mean, we always used to joke that at some point we were all going to figure out how long it takes to make Madden because we make it every year. Every single year, we would get a schedule that would say, 'cause our normal schedule was 10 to 7, and then it would suddenly say 10 to 10, and then next week it would be 8 to 10, and then next week, I kid you not, it would say 8 to question mark.
oh
That was the schedule you got because it was just like, you don't know what time you're going home today.
That is not
wow,
acceptable.
And it was
That
like,
is unacceptable.
This
and
is
it would have
a
weekends built in from the very beginning.
multi-billion
And it's,
billion dollar industry, and we should
yeah,
not be doing that. We should not be. That should not be acceptable.
should not be acceptable. I mean, I am older and wiser now, and now I'm kind of like, yeah, I'm not doing
It,
that. I'm not doing
a lot has to do with what Travis said is management. I agree with you. You should.
yeah,
There's a difference between a product manager, a project manager, and a producer.
Mm.
And gaming industry try to bundle that person up into one individual who's also a studio counselor
hmm
and impartial HR.
yeah.
All
Yeah,
of
we
these
just call
places.
them Counselor Troy's.
yeah. The last thing I'll say on this subject is I think that what this is it's speaking to the age of our industry more so than
Yeah.
anything else, right? I mean, I started this industry when I was 19, and and a lot of times, the people who were your managers weren't much older,
Mhm.
um, and so no one was married, no one had a life. You know, some of your managers didn't even know how to speak to each other, much less women. And and,
Still
and
don't.
so yeah, that's true. That's still the case, right? But yeah, but now people are like, hey man, I gotta go pick my kids up from school, or I gotta take care of people at home who are not doing well, or I gotta do all this, all this stuff. And so yeah, so now that you've got this industry that's like decades old, and you've got managers, at all levels, who are in different stages of their life, they don't have time for your nonsense anymore. Like I can't do the question mark. You know what I'm saying? My kid has to get the class, or this has to happen. You know, and so I just think it's speaking to how this industry is slowly but surely
Changing.
maturing.
I just think it's unfortunate that it had to get to a point where it's like the folks like management didn't understand those sort of issues until it became their issue,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
Like when folks are saying, "Hey, I've got kids, I've got this, I've got these other things, these things outside of work." It's like, "Oh no, you need to work to 8 to question mark. I
Yeah.
have a game to get out.
Mhm.
It's the same game every single year, but I have a game I need to get out, and I don't care about your issues." And then suddenly, when it was their issue, especially when how the pandemic has just shaken up our industry, suddenly it became, "Oh, now I understand about why you need to." Why we can't always schedule lunch meetings, because you have to make lunch for your 3 little ones
Yeah.
too, because they have to eat food and that takes more than 5 minutes, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, the one last thing I'll say about this too, I mean, because I think that this is an issue that we as an industry are still struggling with. We're getting better. It's like it's better than 20 years ago when EA Spouse was a thing, but that doesn't say anything because we still see these sorts of stories come out periodically. But I
Yeah.
just love this story in particular because, as opposed to Hades, where the immediate pushback on, like, oh, you say you can make games without crunch. Well, that was a tiny game. That wasn't a AAA game. That game had the scope was so small that here's a reason why that wouldn't work. Here's another reason why that wouldn't work. Here's another reason why that wouldn't work. Well, how about Ratchet and Clank? You
Yep.
can't say that is not a AAA game.
Right.
You cannot say
Right.
that Insomniac is not a AAA quad A studio.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And
Yeah,
so
that's a
there's your
quad A
counterpoint.
game.
Yeah, this is a counterpoint that I think is really important. We should study this absolutely, because this shows you can make a well-rated, well-received, robust game without killing your team to do it. And
Yep.
that should be the direction we're moving, as opposed to just relying on crunch as a crutch.
I,
Yeah.
I want to I want to say one more thing
Yes.
about this because I think it's important.
Yes.
Um, Human capital is huge now, right? Like
Mhm.
you can't piss off the people who are giving you gold. You just can't, right? Because it's too easy. Other companies make it too easy
Mm.
to steal people who are
Yep.
good,
Yep.
right? So you give someone an 8 to question mark stuff, and they'll be like, yeah, oh, these
Yeah.
people don't treat me this way, and I'm going over their deuces. And now you just lost your rock star person,
Mhm.
right? Now, and the reason I think that's important, especially with this story in particular, is because I have a close personal friend of mine who quit Insomniac because they believed in that name,
Mhm.
No
I,
Sleep. You
I
see what I'm
actually thought that
saying?
was a pretty that was a
Ironic.
pretty like ironic name.
Yes.
Insomniac has actually got work-life balance on it.
Right, right. And so to me, it shows that it shows that Insomniac as a company understood that they were really messing up,
Yeah.
right?
Mm.
And
Yeah.
they turned a corner. And that's something you rarely see, which is a company who is definitely not doing things the way they're supposed to, now becoming a shining example of things that you should do. And I think that
Yeah.
they should they
Very,
they, they
very
should be
true.
applauded for that.
Yes.
This is how
Very.
you retain talent and stuff. I think the
Absolutely.
next sort of the new sort of battle of our age, besides work-life balance, is going to be remote work too,
Yep.
because I know that there's going to be a big wave of people
Mhm.
who are like, oh, you want me to come back into the office? Well, we've actually shown the last year and a half that we can do these jobs remotely. So peace, let me find one that lets me do that.
Yep.
And just as a last closing comment, I know I said this last closing before, but I did an entire talk on this, by the way, folks, last year at Game Devs of Color about how crunch has been used as a crutch to allow abuse to just run rampant in our industry. Please look it up. It is called No More Heroes: How Game Development Heroics Are Killing Us. Check it out. It's like 20 minutes. Like, you enjoy it. And let me know what you guys think.
All
Nice.
right. Let us move on. I know we are running very short on time here, but I do want to get a chance for us to just take a look at, or just do a quick recap, I'll say, on E3. It was a couple weeks ago, but we haven't had a chance to really talk about like what announcements were there, what
Did E3
surprises.
happen? There was an E3 this year.
I mean, technically,
Did I blink and miss it?
Yeah.
I mean,
All the
basically,
time.
yeah. It was because it was on a weekend this year.
Yep.
You know.
It started on the weekend. Yep.
I mean, E3 had been inching into the weekend and even in person years as
Yeah.
well. And it was very annoying because it's like,
Yeah, because EA be like, we're doing EA Play on Saturday, and
yep,
before E3
yep.
starts, and y'all can kiss our butts, because we're not going to be on the floor. Even though
Come
we had
on,
this big
y'all.
booth on the floor, but we're not going to be on the floor.
Yeah, it's kind of like, come on. But anyways, yeah, E3 happened. So I'm kind of curious, what were y'all's takeaways for E3 this year? It was fully virtual. I know there was some, some controversy with different devs trying to actually get registered, because there was like some weird validation systems going on, whatever. But this was the first year it was fully virtual. I mean, I'm guessing probably next year maybe they'll do some sort of like a hybrid model, because I'm hoping people can, maybe people will be able to be back in person if they want to be, frankly. But yeah, what were folks' takeaways?
Well, first of all, let me say that I miss E3, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, and what I mean is like our industry, we don't have the Tribeca or the South by Southwest, or you know, we don't. We have E3, right? Um, and it's changed throughout the years. I mean, and E3 came about because we used to go to CES, and we would always get basically the ghetto treatment. You go out in the tents outside, and it was in Vegas
Yeah.
in January. It was cold outside, right? Like it was like really, like we got to go out in the tents, and and it was bad, right? Um, and E3 has sort of metamorphosized into so many different things over the years. And honestly, I just want E3 to decide what it's going to be.
That part.
Right. And once E3 decides what it wants to be, then everyone else can decide how or if they will participate. And I think that the worst thing about E3 is no one agrees as to what E3 is supposed to be at this point. Now, that being said, it was the best Microsoft E3 that I had ever seen. And and I said this last E3, like Microsoft went and just bought every developer that they could get their hands on and said, yeah, here's all the monies, go make cool things, right? And I think that if you thought Microsoft's E3 performance this year was dope, wait till next year. Watch, it's gonna be even doper. So and Sony didn't even show up.
Yeah.
Sony's been
Thanks,
gone for like 4
PlayStation.
years, right? Like they bowed out before this went virtual.
I know they had that. You remember the one E3 they had that was sort of like strange. It was like, oh, here's The Last of Us.
Yes,
And this surrealistic experience, and here's Ghost of Tsushima, this surrealistic experience, and you're like, Sony.
And I gotta mention, if you were at home watching this and they had to do like a venue change
They
in
did
the
a venue
middle,
change,
Yeah.
and it was like a 10-minute intermission. It's like, nah, man, this ain't cool. I also know it's like 95 degrees down in LA right now. Even the people who are there probably don't want to be doing a venue change.
Right?
So weird. Yeah, it was so weird.
Yeah, I think
will
that
say,
oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna mention, sorry, I will say, Nintendo, I know they just do like their Nintendo Directs. They started doing those like, a few years ago. They kind of get like a pass because they're like, yeah, we're just gonna always do our stuff pre-recorded and we're just gonna like put it out there. And like Nintendo had like I mean, they had an insane number of things that they announced, like that were very exciting.
Metroid, a
Yeah.
new Metroid.
Travis, what do you think of the new
Based on the
Metroid?
old Metroid, which is even crazy.
Travis, what do you think about the new Metroid?
What do you think of that
I
new
see you, Shanae, and you're wrong for this. Okay. Let me tell you something. Okay. That new Metroid got me US Open.
Yes. Travis, you heard it here first, folks. Travis, now a Nintendo fan.
They were like, "Oh, this is Metroid 5." They're like, "Wait, hold on, we're on Metroid Prime. We're like number."
I know.
4.
I was like,
We're
wait,
like,
that's
hold on. This y'all did I miss a Metroid? They're like, "No, we're doing old Metroid."
Yep.
And let me tell you, my soul is ready.
ready for it.
Yeah.
Your body is ready. Is your body ready though?
It is. I don't know.
empty.
It might be. I don't know, because every time the switch buttons are real small, so I don't know if my body is ready,
You better get your body ready.
but my soul is.
Learn how to use the pads of your fingers.
I
Travis.
know. Switch dreams in Xbox hands. I don't.
Actually, the trailer that moved me was the Outer Limits 2 one. Like, this is where the epic music comes in.
Outer World.
Outer World. And they're like, look at this
Sinead did the
badass
first one.
character. This is the last time you're going to see this badass character. But we made this really cool title. We have no idea what this game is about. And that was the end of the trailer. I was like,
So Sinead, being a producer on the first Outer Worlds,
Yes.
right? How did that trailer hit you? Because I remember, because the Avatar trailer got, the Avatar trailer got played. When the Avatar trailer got played, I was like, oh man, this is awesome. And then I start going down my timeline list on Facebook, right? And someone said, man, that Outer Limits, the Outer Worlds trailer, best trailer at E3. And I felt some kind of way, right? And so I was like, let me check it out. And I was like, this speaks to my soul.
It does. It nailed it. It nailed it. It was everything that everything.
Because if you're in the industry, you were like, oh my God, there's so much truth to this trailer.
No, I thought it was pretty fantastic. I was actually watching. I was doing like a co-watch with my sister and a friend of ours. We're all watching it remotely and stuff like that. And we're just like on PSN chat or something like that, just like clowning a lot of the trailers was going through. And so that one started up and we're just like, what is this? What is this? And like, no one knew what it was. And then the character popped up. I'm like, I know it is, the Outer Worlds 2. And everyone's like, what? I'm like, yeah, that's my kid. That's our character from this. It's not my character. I didn't create him or anything like that. But that's Obsidian, the folks at Obsidian. Like, I'm so excited that they're going to be doing a sequel to it and stuff. That I thought was also really interesting and that probably I noticed was the logo at the end, because I'm like, oh, this is Microsoft published. The first one was not Microsoft published. It was back when I was at Private Division at Take-Two. So I'm like, oh, Microsoft's doing this one. Upgrade. So I was really excited to see like just like you said, like 3 years ago when Microsoft went on that like buying binge for a lot of different independent game devs. Like picked up Undead Labs, Obsidian, Ninja Theory. I can't remember. Like, did they pick up the collective?
They also bought Double Fine.
Double Fine. Like there was like 5 or 6 or 7 different studios.
Yeah,
Bethesda.
The collective.
All of Bethesda. ZeniMax.
Yeah. All of Bethesda.
Yeah.
Like, how crazy is that?
And now we're seeing it. We're seeing why. Like we all like sort of had guesses about like, oh, strategically, I think this is what's going to happen. And now like the time has come, and you're starting to see those games get announced. The Outer Worlds is probably still, like it said, multiple years out. I mean, the only thing they had completed, as the trailer said, was the name, which is just The Outer Worlds 2.
Well, look, they didn't lie, right? Nothing in that trailer was a lie. They said, hey, man, we ain't done. We don't even know this is what it look like.
That was also a really high quality trailer, by the way.
I like how they said, oh, look at this cool monster. You won't see him in the game.
It's hundreds of thousands of dollars of throwaway CG for that single trailer, y'all. So,
and it was worth every
penny. Worth every penny. Worth every penny.
Can we talk a little bit about Breath of the Wild too?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Because you stole my heart.
Because that trailer happened. Everybody's like,
I don't know.
Is that Link? Is that Link? People like
he had his pandemic hairstyle, right? Like he's been like in lockdown for a year.
I was like, what? Ganon? What's going on here? They're like, we don't know who that character really is. Nintendo hasn't declared who that character is. I said, it looks like Link, but it's not Link. But it's young Link, but it's not Link. Hold on, what's going on here?
I like seeing the conspiracy theories for it.
Yeah.
It reminds me, I probably should finish the first one, but I put so many hours in the first one.
I just kept wondering whether or not his weapon was going to break during the trailer.
No, but he was going through. He was dissolving through boulders and stuff, and I thought that was interesting. Like,
yeah,
that
was pretty
going
cool.
on here?
Pass.
That was pretty cool.
Pass.
Enjoyed that.
Pass.
Pass.
That game, that was the most tweeted about game of E3.
Yeah, I agree.
And
Zelda games are boring unless Capcom made it.
The other note, by the way, is I know they said I noticed the wording of what they said, because they said 2022. They basically said we're trying to hit 2022 or something like that. I'm like, wow, you hedged them bets super hard.
They did hedge those bets hard.
I think as Nintendo fans, I don't expect it in 2022. We'd be lucky if it gets 2023. All right, y'all just hunker down. Just be happy. You're probably gonna get another trailer sometime in the next 2 years, and maybe you'll get a game for the Switch.
I had a friend who brought up. He's like, I remember a time when Nintendo didn't announce the game until they had it already canned and they could actually ship it, and that's when they announced the date. He said, now they announced a date, and they're nowhere going to hit that date. They know they're not going to hit that date.
They know they're not going to hit it, and they know there's nothing you're going to do about it. You know, you're still going to buy the game.
He said,
Yeah.
What are you going to do? You're going to sit there.
he's the friend that's coming to your house and they're always down the street when you call them asking where they are.
Yes, yes.
Like I'm
yes.
on my way. I'm 5
None of
minutes
shit.
away.
I'm
5 minutes
And
away.
with
5
no
minutes away. They ain't
shame.
left the house. They have not left the house.
Yep.
No
Yep.
shame whatsoever.
But you know what? He's also the friend that you're happy when they get there. Even still, you're a little bit annoyed, but you're like, but I'm glad you're here.
And also, he's a friend who told you he was going to bring one thing, and he brought something totally different that you didn't ask for. You're like, I guess
You're
I
like,
like
I
this.
thought you were
But
bringing
that
pizza,
thing
but you
broke.
brought
That
oxtail.
thing broke, and you have to get a new one.
And let's talk about what the big announcement is. Super Smash Brothers is the ultimate fighting game ever created. They're like, we're going to just add more characters in there. I just hope they partner with Disney and just throw Winnie the Pooh in there at this point. Like, it is the metaverse game. They have every game character.
It is. It's the original. Wait. It's the what game you said?
The
Meta.
metaverse game.
First.
Also, I see the other game I was a little bit interested in, which made a lot of waves, was Redfall. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, I think it was like, that was the one that looked like Left 4 Dead with vampires, right?
Yeah, there was a lot of Left 4 Dead like games that were announced.
Yeah,
like,
Back 4 Blood with the
Back
four
4 Blood is Left 4
That's right.
Dead. That's the
It's
third
Left 4 Dead.
game in the trilogy.
All I remember about Redfall is that they had a sister that had natural hair,
and it looked great.
Yeah,
and she was shooting
Her
people,
hair looks amazing.
and I'm there for that.
I do wish we could
I
get
want to be
some-
that character.
I do wish we could get. You're not going to be that character if we're playing Travis. Sorry, you got to get in line.
He's gonna be the guy taking
Wow.
pictures, making vampires look for you.
Not in my game.
but no. I mean, like that, it was that game. Like obviously, Back 4 Blood is like the spiritual successor to Left 4 Dead. But then there was also was it a Tom Clancy game? Was it like Retribution or something like that?
Yeah.
That also had like serious like Left 4 Dead vibes, and I'm like, I might play this.
Mhm.
This is not the type of game I typically play, but I'm like, I might play this game right now. So
Yeah.
I'm putting that out there so that all of y'all go ahead and buy it, get your PS5s and stuff, like figure it out, and we can all get out and we have a squad going for this
Look,
thing.
Yeah, I think that E3, you know, and maybe it should just be like a time of year, you know, and what I mean by that is like a con season for lack of anything, for lack of anything else, because now you're getting these pressers, right, that happen where everyone is sort of, you know, announcing when they do it. And personally, I like that because like previous E3s, you'd have to decide, what am I going to go to, or what am I going to see, you know? And now that all the publishers and manufacturers have carved out like some time so that they can let their product shine. I like that so much better, because because honestly, sometimes I don't even like walking the floor at E3 anymore, because everything's so behind, like a line, these doors and all this other kind of stuff. I said, why are you even on the show floor if no one can see it, right? Like, get out of here.
Like, you had to know somebody. You had to get the line super early because you were an exhibitor, and so you could get in the line before the doors open.
Right.
Also led people to be really pissed off. But sorry, exhibitors also like playing games. But or you had to know somebody. Like the way I got to play Smash Brothers was I knew somebody. It was like, and we had to get like a private showing for it. Like that's not the right.
No.
It's not fun, actually.
Because really, on a professional level, honestly, like we used to use E3, still do, to cheat off of each other's paper, right? You'd be like, oh, I'm doing a game like that too. Let me go see what you're doing. Let me see what you're doing.
Yep.
What you're doing, and it's really hard to do that. I mean, I remember like historically, we'd spend the first day like literally splitting up in the different teams, and at the end of the day saying, okay, go to this booth and this booth and this booth and this booth, and
you can go
now,
by this booth. Yeah, you can miss the Tecmo booth. You can do the and a lot of E3. Let me tell you what I do E3 for. So I can do hood rat stuff with my hood rat friends.
No doubt.
Just having it all be geeky. That's all I want to do.
Honestly,
E3, Comic-Con, and GDC is really for me to see my friends that are too busy crunching and working on their projects. I can't see them all at the same time. And we just
this
meet
loops
up.
back around to what Travis was saying right at the top about E3 and stuff like that too. Like, I think that E3 has been changing and stuff a lot. Like if we go back to in person, like we're probably going to use it also so for that same sort of purpose of like hanging out with friends, reconnecting with people you haven't seen for years. But the show itself serves a purpose And E3 has changed a lot just in the last couple of years, not even counting the mandatory changes for, for to account for COVID and it being canceled last year. But like it switched to being a consumer, to not just being a consumer focused show, but to being a press and consumer show.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
That I said, I think the key that makes E3 even more challenging as developers to support. And I think we touched on this a little bit a couple weeks back, because if it was just a press show, there's certain things that you prepare, there's certain ways that certain talking points, there's certain things that you have to do for a press show. For a consumer show, you make completely different decisions.
Yep.
And when you have a show that is both, you're like, oh my God.
And you know what's really bad about all this?
What?
I used to get all my cool ass T-shirts for free, and since it's now a consumer facing show, they charge for all that stuff.
Yep.
I just
Man, my
moved.
T-shirt
but-
collection used to be fire. People like, where'd you get that Street Fighter shirt? I got it at E3.
E3.
Why you get the E3? I'm in the industry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, the like I just finished moving, which is why I've got a virtual background. I don't want you to see all these boxes and stuff. I have so many.
Congratulations on a new house, Sinead. Okay.
I'm stunning.
Yeah,
on
for
you.
real.
maybe you'll see me. I'll take a tour of the house at some point throughout the course of our upcoming episodes.
You
I'll
beat
go
the boss level.
sit
You got the
outside.
MTV Cribs episode.
Cribs. Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah, you'll see my game collection right now, which is nothing. Everything is in boxes right now. It's deeply saddening.
Yeah.
The reason why I mention all that stuff too, right? Like, so E3 itself, I think it serves a really great purpose. I just think it needs to also not just be it's not just for press, it's not just for consumers, it also is for developers as well. And when E3 doesn't fit into our development schedules, I mean, it never really did, right? Like E3 was always like not just a grenade, but multiple grenades just bombarding your development schedule. Like,
Yeah.
it was always that. Now it's changed into even more than that. Now it's like a freaking like nuke it from orbit kind of thing to your development schedule. And I think that's why a lot of places like Sony and other big devs and other big publishers are making decisions that, hey, we're actually going to put our money and our time around like marketing and PR efforts into our own thing, which we can control the messaging. It's a lot lower cost. We don't have to send folks, like, get people on a plane. We don't have to like, get huge build outs for booths. You guys don't know, like, literally you tour the E3 floor and you see like, these giant statues and all kinds of stuff. And I'll pull this giant alien gun I've got down here out front of the desk in a couple seconds. These things cost not just tens of thousands of dollars, sometimes hundreds of thousands of dollars, sometimes 7 digits to just do a build out for a 4-day show. And that stuff winds up getting stored in a garage. It winds up getting stored in cubicles.
What's getting
Winds up
thrown
stored
away?
under someone's desk.
Yeah, it gets
You
thrown
know?
away.
Yeah, it
away,
can
yeah.
be thrown away. It's a lot of money spent, and it's a lot of time and effort. And I think a lot of folks are just like on the development side are saying, "Hey, is the return on investment really worth it right now?" And for a lot of folks, it's not. Especially for smaller devs, it's definitely not. And when the big ones are saying it's not, that shows there needs to be a change.
That's
So
why
I'm just
PlayStation created the experience. PlayStation
Yeah.
experience. 70
So
bucks.
Ryan, what was the dopest E3 that you went through? Like any like real solid like E3
Who are you talking to?
like Ryan.
Ryan.
Oh, Ryan.
And I can't really pick one. They're all, I've had like the same feeling with all of them. But just to refer back to that line you were talking about, everything's hidden and everything. This is how you get around it. You just go to E3 with a celebrity friend and you skip all the lines and you get all the back doors, you get all that stuff. That's literally how I do it when I go to E3. I'm like, as soon as I get there, I just call up one person, I call up another person, all right, we meet up, and then we're on the floor. We out there, we're doing something, and
That's something.
skip everything, man. I don't wait in lines. No line.
Yeah.
What is that, Shanae?
Oh,
Can't
you're.
hear you. Can't hear you. You're
Oh,
muted.
and now we can't. We can see your background.
Sorry,
we-
sorry. You can see my box's background.
Yes.
This is a game. This is a alien gun called the Disintegrator from Dark Void. Very first game I ever produced. Right here. This thing weighs like 40 pounds and it's all
Wow.
on the right side.
Nice.
But these things, like these kinds of props, like designing this, getting it fabricated, getting it shipped safely to a location, like that's tens of thousands of dollars for this little thing right here. So you can understand why like a lot of devs and a lot of publishers are like, hey, actually, let's spend that like, $100,000 we'd have on something on, doing a series of like Nintendo Directs or
Mm-hmm.
something like that, which
Yeah.
will
You can
cost a
sell
lot
that on eBay.
and
Mm.
weigh a lot
50
less.
bucks.
Yeah, and I can plus one. I can plus one what Ryan is talking about. Experiencing E3 with a celebrity is significantly different
Oh
than
yeah.
just going
Oh yeah.
by yourself.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Because they get
So,
into everything.
I,
Things
I,
that they didn't know existed. Like what? Like,
Yep.
can't you come over here and do this and you get free food for us?
You get
And
free
here's some
food, you
liquor.
get everything.
Everything.
I'll ask all you folks, because I actually have never been to E3 like person. Well, I've heard so many horror stories from everybody who has to man the booths for 15 hours.
Oh, that's true.
And I'm kind of like, I'm good. I'll just watch it. I'll watch it, the important parts that I care about on the stream and not have to stand any lines. But what do you folks, what are you looking forward to for the next E3? Would you prefer for it to be an in-person event or for them to do this kind of hybrid model?
I'm looking forward to it being a mixture of both, honestly. Um, like I said, once E3 figures out what it's going to be, if it ever figures out what it's going to
Yeah.
be, because the Penny Arcade Expo came along, and when that came along, people got used to being a lot more connected with both the developers and the games and progress and so on and so forth. And I think that it changed the landscape for E3,
Fan base.
in that way. And if they're not going to do something that is more fan friendly and industry friendly and figure out how to navigate both of those in a great way, I think that's the future of E3.
Yeah.
And I don't know how long it's going to take to get there, but that's what I look forward to, because like
Yeah.
for me, don't get me wrong, I mean, it's nice for me to like meet and chill with my colleagues and all this other kinds of stuff, but sometimes, man, you just want to see that end user like feel great because of some stuff he did, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And it's very few places where you can get that opportunity, where you can see like an end user experience, that magic, you know what I'm saying? Because that magic is what powered us to get into this industry. It when we are doing crunch, it's so that we can give them that experience, right? And I think it's cheating us out of one of the great rewards that we get for being in this industry, which is to give that back to players.
Yeah, for anyone who hasn't been to E3, like I've mentioned it every time E3 rolls around, for the in-person events, it's like my body immediately gets tired before I even get there. For like the week leading up to it, my brain is like, oh my god, it's E3 week. Oh, I can't. Oh, I don't want to. And then I get there, and I'm so stoked to be there, because you walk through those doors and you see all the booths coming together. You see people like doing build outs. You see people who you haven't seen probably in years, because this industry is really, really small. And when the doors finally open, it's like a theme park. It's a video game theme park. The sights and sounds and everything it is hard to even describe. It is also incredibly overwhelming. So for old heads like us on this call.
Well, you said the sights and the sounds, Sinead, but you left out the most important thing.
The smells.
Yeah. Never forget that.
Like I said, it's like the last E3 I went to in person, it was LA. It was 95, 96
Oh
no. There were literally tens of thousands, maybe more people in this. Like,
It was the fan E3, right? It was the fan E3, right? I met
yes,
some
the air conditioning
kids.
wasn't doing what it needed to do.
I met some kids on Friday that stayed in their car from Monday to
Yeah.
Friday. They didn't even bathe. They just stayed. They drove up from Orange County and they stayed. They just wanted to be around everything the whole entire time. And I was like, E3 naturally smells like a GameStop, but y'all push the limits on it. Y'all push the limits.
Yeah, well,
on the GameStop smell.
I will just say like E3 as it is right now, like let's discount this year since it was the digital version, but E3 as a hybrid consumer and press show, I think does a disservice to both consumers and press.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
I don't think that consumers should have to live in their car from like Monday to wind up to see like one or two games maybe because you stood in line for 7 hours. Like that's not a good experience for them,
Yeah.
and it's not a good experience for us as devs and press same way. Like it's just like E3 needs to figure out what it's going to do.
All right.
Well,
Yeah.
but in closing, before we close, I have to say the only one true memorable moment for me at E3 was when I met Gary Coleman, and then I shook his hands, and it was just like the little tiny hands, and I was just like, he's really a small dude. He's really small, man.
Remind me to tell you my Gary Coleman story later.
And on
Yeah.
Gary Coleman, we're gonna
On that note,
we're gonna close up the show today. Thank you everyone for watching. Oh, what are we showing here?
Oh, sucky,
Oh,
yeah,
nice.
There it is, baby.
yeah,
Ryan's
So
book.
that's what Ryan was drawing.
This is
Nice.
what Ryan was
Nice.
drawing the entire time.
yeah.
Look how
So
thick
my
this
book, Brothers
is.
Bond, 250 pages.
nice.
Nice.
Ryan's book. I just wanted to celebrate Ryan's book. I was like, oh crap, I got Ryan's book.
I,
gotta drop
wait.
You
Would
gotta
that be
drop a link
the
to that
would that be the Eisner
Yes, that's the Eisner one.
nominated Brothers Bond?
The Eisner nominated Brothers Bond. Yes.
Okay, just saying.
Nice.
Just making
You
sure.
we gotta drop a link to that in the chat here.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I
Thank
got
you.
it.
Well, thank you everybody for watching. I want to give a shout out to Digital Click for all the creative they provide for us for each and every show. If you want to learn more about Technubians, and I know you do, then you can hit us up on technubians.com. That's techn00bians.com. Please follow us here on Twitch. If you like our vibe and want to know more about game development and everything geek, please consider subscribing to the Geekish Network. Follow us on all major social networks and check out the schedule for the Geekish Network here on our Twitch page. Tonight we have Pod Squadron. Tomorrow we're going to have Nerdtastic. And that's it. Everyone, see you next week. Have a great rest of the weekend.